Good morning, everybody. I hope
Hello.
everyone's doing well. And how are you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sabin?
I am pretty good. As you can see, I'm in a very festive mood. Um, I took the time to make these cool little Christmassy banners just because we only get to do this once a year. So why not go all out with it? So yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, today what we have ahead for us on this stream is it's going to be pretty cool. We've got two different guests, some community members who are doing some pretty cool stuff with Prisma and building cool tooling around Prisma. We also have the 4.8.0 release, so we're going to be talking through that. And Stephen also, I think, has a little demo for us to illustrate some of the cool stuff that we did with this release.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is going to be, I think it'll be a little bit quicker than the stream usually is, just because it is the holidays and want to give you as much time as possible. But it's still going to be fun, and I think we're going to get a lot of cool stuff out of it. So let's see here. Before we jump into the release notes, Stephen, what are your Christmas plans? What are you doing this year?
We're gonna keep it nice and simple. Just stay at home and relax. Catch up on the house chores a little bit. So yeah, nothing big.
Nice.
How about yourself?
Yep. So pretty much just hanging out with family. I live like 2 blocks away from my wife's family and from my family, so we kind of just go back and forth and hang out with them throughout
Perfect.
the day. Yeah, and then heading to a cabin, and we're gonna be hanging out there. So should be
Sounds
pretty
fun.
cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I have my screen pulled up. Let me see if I can get it here. And there we go. Cool. Does that font size look okay to you, Stephen?
Maybe bump it up just one notch there.
Gotcha. Let's see.
Perfect.
So yeah, with this release, this is one of those releases where we're doing a lot of sort of enhancements and making existing functionality work better. We also have a pretty cool little preview feature in here that we're going to talk a little bit about. But starting from the top, first thing we have is this improved serverless experience. And this is a big one that a lot of people have been talking about for a while. We've been working on decreasing the size of our engines. And with this release, we have them decreased by an average of around 50%, like it says here. And what this means is that when you actually generate Prisma Client and when you upload it to like serverless, when you upload maybe to AWS Lambda, the file size of the binary that you're uploading is going to be significantly smaller. This is important because those binary files often made the whole package a little bit too big to actually deploy to serverless, and it became a little bit of an issue. Or I say a little bit of an issue. That was actually a pretty big issue for a lot of people and pretty much a roadblock for deploying to serverless. With this release, that should be a lot better of an experience there. So if you are playing with Prisma and serverless, give this a try. Let us know what you think. We're still working at getting the file sizes even smaller, but I think this is a really big jump towards getting those file sizes in a much more manageable state. The next thing we have here is multi-schema support for CockroachDB. If you've been following our releases, we have multi-schema support in preview for Postgres, and this adds it as well for CockroachDB. That way it's usable on both. And what this is going to include, as it says here, is introspection. So as you introspect your database, it should recognize different schemas that are in your database, and it'll do that if you add the schemas you want to look for specifically to your data source block. And then just a couple of different other things around migrations and querying across multiple databases. All of this should work with this preview feature. So again, if you are working with this feature of CockroachDB or Postgres, definitely let us know what you think. If it's working for you, that's awesome. If you run into any kinks, we want to hear about it. So we have our GitHub issues page where you can post anything about that. And then finally, the last one that we have to talk about here is the improved OpenSSL 3.x support. What we found was that there are versions of Linux that people are using with Docker, specifically this Node Alpine and the Node LTS Alpine Docker images. These ship with OpenSSL 3.0.x. And now I don't remember specifically if this was a new change or if this has been that way for a while. I know people just recently started bringing this up, so I would think it's probably a newer change. Do you happen to know, Stephen?
I know that certain platforms, I believe GitHub Actions, have recently started automatically upgrading the latest images to images that use OpenSSL 3.0. So I had seen some people who had run into an issue with that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so what this actually caused is it would, if I remember correctly, it would like just basically error out. It would not allow you to use this because of those SSL mismatched versions. Now we have OpenSSL 3.0.x in place, so it should work with these Docker images. And also, we've sort of future-proofed this. So as different versions of OpenSSL 3 come out, it should be able to detect and recognize those and actually use those going forward in the future. So those are the three like really major things that we released with this release. Like I said, it's a lot of working on preview features, getting that out, and sort of just improving the serverless experience with these smaller engine sizes and the SSL support. And I think that's going to be a common trend that you see going forward, is sort of pushing this serverless agenda, because it's such a big world out there and so many people are using it that we are wanting to focus on that a little bit. So keep your eyes out for more of that kind of stuff. I'm pretty excited for the direction that we're going there. But as always, we also have a long laundry list of fixes and improvements. If you're interested in any specific ones of those, feel free to scroll through these. I'll scroll through them a little slowly now so you can get an idea of what we've got. But as always, there's a ton of stuff here. And then down here near the bottom, just wanted to point out that we do have a new help center. So if you're interested in getting some help, let's see if this will actually open up nicely here. Yeah, so we've got this help center where you can go and search for questions that people have asked before and just get support on stuff you might be having issues with. And then I think that's actually it for the release notes. Next, I think, Stephen, you'd prepared a little demo for us. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. On the topic of improved serverless experience and smaller engine size, I wanted to just demo here in a serverless app what that reduced engine binary size looks like. Here I've got a little Prisma app using serverless to deploy to AWS Lambda. Just a simple little serverless setup here. Not a big schema, just so I can show mainly the difference in the engine size. So if I go ahead and run SLS package to package my Lambda as a zip file, and then I can take a look. This is using, right now this is on Prisma 4.7.1 to show what it looked like before. And we see that we had a 17 megabyte zip file for the Lambda function. And if I unzip that, you can see that the actual query engine binary after being unzipped takes up 43 megabytes. But I'll go ahead and check out the 4.8.0 branch, install packages, and try to package the Lambda function again. And now we can see that the zip file is already just down to 8.1 megabytes compressed. And if I unzip that, the query engine binary is all the way down to 16 megabytes. So pretty huge difference from 43 megabytes down to 16. And all I had to do was upgrade Prisma.
And just to give some context into the specific numbers there, I don't remember off the top of my head. Do you remember the file size limit for a Lambda function?
I believe for AWS Lambda, the limit is 50 megabytes for the zip file. And after it's extracted, it has to be below 250 megabytes.
Gotcha. So, I mean, as you can imagine, just having this one file take up, what is it, 1/5 of your file size limit, that's ridiculous. So this is going to be huge, I think, for a lot of people working in this world.
It's a great improvement.
Nice. So I think that you had sort of looked a little bit into what this improvement will sort of help out with. And did you have any specific findings you wanted to share, like around maybe cold starts or around any specific things like that?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't have any hard data right now on what the cold start improvement time will be. Generally, I know that in serverless environments, smaller artifacts are good for many reasons.
Mm.
The biggest thing I think is especially for people deploying to serverless environments. Maybe they have multiple Prisma clients, or they're deploying a function with other larger dependencies. Everything we can do to reduce that engine size is really going to help them out.
Right, cool. And I think also, yeah, you and I had sort of chatted a little bit about how part of that cold start issue is like the parsing of the actual Prisma schema file. Parsing through that can be a little bit slow depending on your schema size. It's not going to be that way for everybody. I bring this up because I have seen, and even just this morning, I was reading a couple of issues about that. And that's something that we're aware of and we're looking at as well. So as I mentioned previously, you're going to see a lot of people working more towards within Prisma, working towards this serverless environment and getting all of these things buttoned up. So expect more things similar to this update with the smaller binary size. Expect more things like that to be coming to help you guys out with serverless stuff. Yeah, no, that was really cool. And I think I'll go ahead and take the screens off now. But yeah, no, that was a great demo. Thanks so much, Stephen, for showing that. I think it's a whole lot better to see the actual artifacts being generated and looking at the file sizes than just being thrown some numbers and being expected to think that it works.
Don't just trust what we say. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. If there's one thing in the tech community I've learned, it's don't just trust what people say. Go actually look at it for yourself, play with it, get your hands in it. So yeah, that was awesome. What we have next is we have a couple of guests, and the first guest that we're going to have on is David, and he's the creator of prisma-utils. It's a really cool package that sort of fills in some gaps in Prisma Client that a lot of people have been looking for. It also has been around for quite a while, and David's been working on it, so I'm very excited to have him on. So let's welcome David to the stream.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Great. How are you doing today?
I'm great. What about you?
Yeah, doing fantastic. I'm very excited to have you on. As I think I've mentioned to you already, David, I've brought you up a couple times to have on the stream, and I'm super excited to be able to get you on here to talk about some stuff.
Well, thank you for the invitation and for the work you put at Prisma. I really like the client and how it interacts with the database. SQL has always been a pain for me, and it's good to see someone taking care of it.
Nice. Yeah, well, thanks. I'm glad to hear that. I definitely agree with the sentiment that SQL can be a pain. I've worked at a couple places where we didn't use ORMs, and we'd have 200 or 300 line SQL statements, and it's like, oh my goodness. So it's yeah, I totally agree there. But let's see, to get started with this, how about you just tell us a little bit about yourself, just anything interesting, how you got into software development, and just all that kind of stuff. We want to hear about you.
Well, how I got into software development is a bit of a funny story. My teacher for my maths classes asked us to solve a problem, and no one knew how to solve it. And that's why I studied and researched how to solve that problem and started making an algorithm that solves all problems of that type using artificial intelligence.
Oh,
That's
wow.
where I started with software engineering.
That's crazy. I mean, that's awesome. And I think I'll ask a very leading question because this is very impressive. How old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay, cool. So yeah, David is 16 and he's been working on fantastic tools. I was telling him yesterday, and David, it's still true. I wish I was doing software development at the level you are at 16. That's just really, really awesome.
Thank you for the kind words.
That's how you got started in software development. But in recent years, what have you been working on? So you've been working on prisma-utils. Are there any other things, like specific languages or interests you have?
I've initially started with Java, but now I've moved away from it and went with TypeScript because of Next.js and all of those tools. Plus, working with databases in Java is a bit harder than TypeScript.
Nice,
And
yeah.
And now I'm starting to make tools that I wish I had when I started.
That's the coolest part about programming, I think, is that you can come in, you can find an issue, find something that's a pain point, and just sort of develop your own solution for it. And that's a great way to learn and get into it too. So I guess that sort of answers a question I had for you, but I think some more detail would be cool here. What made you actually want to write prisma-utils? Or actually, maybe before that question, actually, sorry to cut you off. What is prisma-utils? Just a general overview so that people have some context what we're talking about.
It's basically a massive set of utilities around Prisma that do a lot of random stuff like full text indexes or querying them, which is still not possible in Prisma.
Nice, nice, yeah. And actually, I'll find a link at some point while you're talking to your docs, because you have a really great documentation website, and I'll share that on the stream. But yeah, so with that context, then what caused you to write prisma-utils? What was sort of the catalyst there?
Well, the first thing I've tried to write was an extension for Prisma. I tried to log the times between the queries, and then I found the middleware. And I thought, what can I do with this middleware to make it even greater? And then client extensions came along, and they helped me a lot more than middleware, because now I can start to write the timings before the query is run.
Nice, yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly, I mean, that's the reason I like prisma-utils so much, and why I wanted to have you on so much, is because these sort of things we offer with Prisma, like these extensions, these middlewares, client extensions, these are all things that are supposed to be used as building blocks. And what we want people to do with these is exactly what you did, is to see the power that these things sort of provide and build a set of tooling around it. And actually, I did get the link up right now to the doc, so I'll just post these in the stream for whoever's interested. Let's see.
I think it's really great to see too how you're using Prisma client extensions already, and I've been really excited to see some extensions come out of the community, and really looking forward to if you want to demo how you're using client extensions, that'd be really awesome to see.
Yeah, I have a demo ready. If I can share my screen real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so first of all, I've got a massive schema file here. Well, it's not massive to the level of 100 models, but it's still a bit complex. And what I wanted to do in this demo is have it split between multiple files. And then we can query it using the new client extensions to handle an edge case, I believe, the OR option. When basically, if I go in here and let me install prisma-utils real quick. Basically, if you try to query Prisma right now and use the OR, I believe it's called an argument in the documentation of Prisma, but I'm not really sure on this one. And you leave the array empty, you'll get a list of all models, which of all the rows in the database, and that's kind of an edge case on documented behavior. What I'm doing with client extensions is that I'm modifying the arguments passed to Prisma to remove that OR array that is empty. And to implement some other cool features like custom attribute functions for the default parameter. So let's say if I go to my schema here, and I have this user, and the first name, I can set a default, one that will be replaced by prisma-util. then I'll generate a configuration file. And we'll edit this first name, so it's always a value set by our function. Now that we have the configuration file, we can add the base schema to it by using the default module schema creator. So we'll get the constant model function from schema creator. We'll create an association for this file. And here we'll have to type the path to the base schema, which in our case is the schema.prisma file. And now we can just generate the client like we would normally do, but we're going to use prisma-util instead. Let me move this away. The commands are the same. It's basically a proxy around the Prisma CLI. And after the client is generated, we'll actually see that we get auto-completion for models inside this configuration file.
Oh, I see what's going on then. That's cool.
Now we're just waiting for Prisma to generate the client. In the meantime, let's create a default function that we're going to use for our first name. We'll get the DMMF data as a parameter. I'll annotate it as any because it's a bit harder to get right now while Prisma is generated.
Yeah.
Oh, oops, that's there. And now we can set the default value for the first name. In this case, let's call the default person Alex. Now, if we reload the window so the TypeScript server is restarted, we should get the auto-completion. And we enable, let's wait a bit for TypeScript to load. Here we have all of the features that prisma-util provides. We can select the custom attribute functions, run any prisma-util command, and now, because we run this, we'll get the auto-completion I've talked about before, and we'll forgot the attribute functions. Let me disable this real quick. Oh, emphasizing that. Hold on, this shouldn't happen.
Yeah, no worries. This is 100% expected on the live demo.
Yeah.
It looks kind of bad. I don't know how to use my own program.
I wonder if there's like a comma missing somewhere or something.
Yeah, I think so. Oh. I don't know what to say.
So maybe just talk through like what the next step was gonna be here. What was going on?
We were supposed to create an attribute function. We would go here, default functions, and let me remove the detected. And here we would set the column name to a model in here. For us, it was the user. Okay, it's the user.
Okay.
And the column is first name. So we would create the association here, base, and here is the auto-completion I've talked about.
That's
List of
cool.
all of the models. And then the column, we get a list of all of the columns, first name, and then we would just pass the DMF, a function that returns a string with the default value.
That's
Now,
really cool. So, question, because I'm trying to think in my head how this is implemented. So, does this use client extensions to sort of intercept queries to provide that default?
yes.
That's really cool.
How it basically operates is it checks if you've provided a default value. And if you haven't, it uses the one from the default function.
Nice.
And
That's
then the
really
arguments are passed to Prisma.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I like how it's like, I mean, Prisma client extensions, they don't require a whole lot of setup, but I like how this simplifies it even further, where it's just this one simple little configuration option. That's really cool, actually.
You can also add models using a glob function, which is used to get, if you have a ton of files and you need to add all of them, you just go into your include files and you use the global models function. You select the base path, and so it is ignored. Otherwise, you'll get double the models, and it's no fun. And now you just set a glob model here. There.
Okay. Okay.
And this is how it would basically operate.
Nice. So this is how you sort of get all those models and you like
Yeah.
stitch them together. Okay. Nice. Very cool.
And you can also do relations between models and different Prisma files with this, right?
Yeah. So if we go here, let me add some typing back and remove this. There is actually an optional feature called cross-file relations, which allows you to do exactly this, to remap different models from different columns to another file. It's still under, and I don't know why.
Everything that can go wrong will go wrong in live coding.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've gotten on stream with a whole plan and had to completely change it because of the live coding gods didn't like it. So
So basically how you would define such relation is, let's say we split the model. We take the user, we put him in this user. You can see that in the VS Code extension tells us that there's not a session, there's not a link here. What we can do is create something we call in prisma-util a polyfill, basically a model that we use in this file to satisfy the extension, and then it will be replaced by prisma-util at runtime with the correct model.
You know, I've personally done this. I had a package called Aurora that I recently sunsetted that did this. But this is the first time that I've heard someone call that polyfilling, and that's actually a good way to describe it. I'd never thought of it that way.
Go, and now we need to create the user. Oops. And basically we do this for each model, and then we'll remap, not really rename. This password will be the password we set in this file.
Very cool.
Yeah, that is really awesome.
And now user. Oh, oops, we need the user ID.
Right.
Relations. References ID. And and unique. Yeah. I like how the extension tells me what I need to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And a bunch of ID and I use relation. And that's mostly it. Except that I need that. Okay. And now, if the demo was to actually work, we'll go here and type relations. And we go. What we want to remap? Well, we want to remap the user links, first of all, to the link from the ALF file, for example. So we'll go prisma final of user.prisma, the model, which in this case is the user, and the columns links would be mapped to prisma final, and in this case the links, let's say there would be an auth, go auth.prisma, that link, and that's all. And this is how you do relations across the file.
Gotcha. Interesting. That's a nice approach to be able to set that up. When I was building my package Aurora, I had to do some weird kind of janky magic to try to get those relations to find each other, and it just never really worked as well as I wanted it to. I think your solution is a lot more elegant. That's really cool. So within Prisma-utils, what's like the most recent feature that you've put out, or something that you're or working on right now?
Currently, I'm working on getting a visual schema builder that you can run and go in your browser and edit your schema right there.
Nice.
Cool.
I definitely want to see that. Once you get that going, I'll definitely want you to hit me up about it, because we'll want to show that for sure. There's also been questions a lot in our Slack community and in our GitHub issues where people have actually asked for something like that. So I'm sure you've seen those, and that's probably part of the reason why you're making it. But yeah, we'll want to show that for sure.
Yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from the GitHub issues.
Nice, and that's good. I mean, it's really cool that community members like you are doing this kind of stuff. Well, David, I think we're getting a little bit lower on time, so just thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and again, I apologize for my work.
No problem at all. I mean, it was still cool to see how you set up all of this stuff. And personally, I'll admit I have used prisma-utils before, so I can vouch it does work. It's just the demo gods. But this has been really cool. Everyone who's watching on the stream, if you have any questions about prisma-utils, feel free to just put them in the chat, and we'll get to them at some point later on. And Stephen and I will try to answer them. If we can't answer it, we'll direct you to David. He's in the Slack community, and sorry for speaking for you, David, but if you'd like to reach out to him there, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any of your questions about it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So yeah, thanks, David, and we will let you off the stream now, if I can figure out how to do that. There we go. Cool. So I don't know. That was really awesome.
That was really cool.
I've played with prisma-utils. I've sort of followed its development, but the last time I actually installed it in a project and used it was, I don't even remember. It was a little while ago, but even then I thought it was pretty feature rich. And now looking at the docs, I have them up on my other screen. There's a lot of stuff that I want to go play with. I did post a link to the docs. So everyone in this stream, if you want to try it out, go to that link there. The docs are really pretty and pretty organized. So it's very cool looking. The next person that we have is Sivert Olsen. He is the creator of a project called Dundring. I think that's how you pronounce it, but we'll have him on to correct me on that. So let's welcome Sivert.
Yeah. Hi guys.
Hey.
Dundring it's fine. It's fine. It's like a Norwegian term, I guess. Dundring, kind of.
Okay.
Bursting into a room or something. Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of like thundering, I guess.
Nice. I was actually going to ask you what it meant, so that's very cool.
Yeah. Sorry for asking you a question.
Nice.
Yeah.
So to get this started, why don't you as well just tell us a little bit about yourself, sort of what's your background, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. I'm a Norwegian guy. Lived my whole life in Oslo, I guess, the capital of Norway. Studied there for 5 years and started working as like a developer for a company called Beck, which is it's really nice, cozy there. But I also really like just playing with stuff such as like Legos, or like when I was a kid, I really liked just building stuff. And then obviously programming was just like a natural way of proceeding in that kind of direction.
For sure.
So yeah, I really during my studying time, I really fell in love with like kind of game development, and then like the whole React thing started, and which was like, oh, after like 2 years of after we had like algorithms, I remember I was like talking to my buddies, and we like kind of realized that we can kind of make everything we want, like and that was like obviously a naive assumption, but a really cool feeling to sit with. So developer, and I really like programming on my spare time, and also kind of like just sports such as running and cycling, which is kind of why Dundring was born, I guess.
Nice. Well, I guess that kind of leads into the question then. What is Dundring, and sort of what's the whole goal of it?
Yeah, for sure. So Dundring is like, you can imagine this as a treadmill, or like a virtual treadmill just for bikes, which is like a bad way of describing it. But like treadmills are like a mechanical part, and then you have like your display, which displays the speed and your heart rate probably, and you can also like adjust the pace of the treadmill. And cycling, we have something called smart trainers, which you like put onto your bike, and then you can control like your resistance of like how hard you have to pedal and stuff like that. So yeah, started cycling, and obviously we live in Norway, which is like the weather isn't that great in the winter, I guess. So it kind of led me down the road of buying this the smart trainer, and it was like a Swift is like a very mainstream, or like a big and really cool program for which like commonly used with smart trainers, where you can like see your like an entire 3D world, where you like cycle through it and see people. It's awesome. It's really awesome. But like I found myself just sitting on the bike, and like I didn't really look into the 3D world. I found that I was either looking at like Netflix, some Seinfeld, I guess, or I was doing like hard intervals where I wasn't like, I couldn't pay attention to the screen anyways. So that kind of led me down the road of thinking, maybe we can try to do something. Maybe this is a fun hobby project.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, the project itself. So I know it's available on GitHub, but I sort of avoided looking at it so that the info would be all new to me and I could take it on the stream. But what's your tech stack there? What are you using?
Yeah, it's I guess it's the Sumer stack, which is like all TypeScript, React front end,
Nice.
and Express backend.
Nice. When I hear all
Yeah.
TypeScript, I get happy.
Yeah. I really enjoy that working in that environment with just like the types, being able to share the types throughout the whole stack is really neat. And obviously, Prisma was a fine addition to that that stack. But yeah, we started as just like a very basic stunt, I guess, just to see if like could this be done in a web browser. And at least Google Chrome has the web Bluetooth API, which enables communication with Bluetooth devices. So we started doing that, and obviously when you start like monitor your training or like you get some data and you want to be able to just plot in or just start your workout that you planned today, and obviously you need to save that data somewhere. So like in the spirit of just being able to create like an MVP and like improve rapidly and everything like that, we obviously just use the JSON files as like our entire like database kind of thing. And like it's not a big like corporate thing, so it's fine with just the boys using it, I guess. But at some point we were like, okay, we really have to like make a decision on how to structure the database and everything, how we actually want to store the data. So then we went looking, and like we stumbled upon Prisma, and I couldn't really believe my eyes because just the way it seemed like so seamless and so simple to implement. It just blew me away. And then obviously we had to try it for ourselves and just to like pinch ourselves in the arm. And it was really amazing because like for the code to just have basic JSON, like a shitty JSON way of storing data. It was like more lines than using Prisma. It was it was stupid. So I stopped doing that at least.
So when you switched from that JSON file to Prisma, what database did you decide to use?
We decided currently we're actually using SQLite.
Okay.
Just because it's still a very lightweight application with not that much traffic. But like obviously the way of having Postgres as like our end goal is where we want to get ahead. But when it comes to development and like testing locally, we'll probably use SQLite, I guess, and go over to a better, even more sturdy production-ready database such as Postgres.
Great.
Which is nice with Prisma.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like a flag switch in the schema.
It's wild.
It's funny though. I don't have personal experience with this, so I can't really speak to it. But I know personally a bunch of people who will stand by the fact that SQLite is a production database, and so I mean, I think that'll get you a long way as you're developing.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, even though it's just like it's basically just kind of like JSON files, it's just some files and not a very, very complex way of managing it. It's still way better than where we were. And like the type safety and everything that Prisma gave us, like we'll still have Prisma anyway, whatever like database we have in the bottom of it, we'll just have Prisma. And it's just so neat, I guess.
Nice. Would you say that type safety that you got was sort of like the biggest benefit of moving from JSON, or was there something else that was just really nice?
Like thinking back to like the JSON thingy, that was a nightmare, I guess. But I was like, really, this really works because you just read it in and you know the types of the data, and you just I guess you cast it to the types you know it is. But the type safety thing is the primary thing I've seen or that I enjoyed using Prisma. I was like programming last night, I guess, just trying out stuff and just writing everything in the Prisma client, I guess, just suggests everything, and like it's so smooth. You don't have to like think about it in any way, I guess. Nice, but the Prisma Studio also just so nifty to just mock up some data when you need to test something, at least locally.
Yeah. Absolutely. I definitely use that a lot, especially when I'm doing like demos and stuff. It's nice to get that visual
Yeah,
that
yeah.
people can see.
For sure. And also migrations, because I remember when I was like having a summer internship with just using like some regular SQL files, just like having them named and like in that way doing the migration. So I was like, that was kind of one of the reasons why I was kind of unsure how I would attack the database thingy, and why I went for JSON when I was like young and dumb. But yeah, just Prisma doing it. It's
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you like it. I definitely like to hear that. It's cool to see projects that are implementing it and sort of seeing the value of it. I had another question for you, but it literally just left my brain. What was it? I don't know. Are you able to share your screen and give sort of like a view of what this looks like?
Of course.
Cool.
I think I'm sure it's.
Oh, yeah, you are. Cool. Let me put you on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so this is just like the overview of the repo or repository. So kind of, a turbo repo repository setup, and just like some demonstration files. I'm not going to get on the bike to demonstrate how it works for you, but of course, I have the tab.
Bummer. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so the main principle of it is like just keep it really simple. Just have some graphs and just show the data. And for now, it's possible to just connect to your, for example, your heart rate monitor. Let's see if it works. Whoa. And then of course your smart trainer, I guess, with the Web Bluetooth API. If that's, there it is, and it's actually behind me. But yeah, and then of course you can start your workouts, which is like you can see your heart rate increasing because you get stressed, I guess. And then when you're done with the workout, you can save it and everything. But like the most important feature about Dundring, I guess, is just being able to plan your workout. So for example, 3x10, we can try to edit it. It's like not a nice editor, I guess, but it really works. And obviously Prisma backed everything, or
Nice.
the data stored by Prisma, of course. So yeah, you can use that, load it in. Once again, a very not very pleasant looking view over there, but it works. So if I was on the bike, I would like start the workout, and it would just keep me at that wattage, I guess.
Nice. So actually, I was going to say, I actually really like the UI for this. I think it looks really clean and easy to follow.
Yeah, thank you. It's I really like it has been improved, so it's I really enjoy like the simplicity of just the numbers there, because that's what I realized that it really needed when I was doing like intervals and
So while you were developing this, what was like the biggest challenge data-wise with this? Is there any like complication in the data that makes it a little difficult to handle?
For starters, we based everything around the JSON naive structure, which it was fine, but it's like, do you want when you're storing your data, it's a lot of small parts. Again, stop this, I guess. Just refresh it. For every workout, there's like so many small workout parts. At least that's what we call them. For 1 minute, you're going to continue on for this wattage and so on, and like doing manipulation on that data and moving it around and just being sure that everything is handled correctly is kind of difficult when dealing with a pure JSON API. It's kind of difficult, like even though dealing with Prisma, I guess, but it's like it's so much easier to not bite yourself in the foot, I guess, or shoot yourself in the foot with Prisma. So I guess like a lot of small parts that should be connected, and like in JSON we pumped everything into an array, and there's like yeah, you rewrote every other workout if like if you got some race conditions for your workout editing, which was not a good idea at all. But yeah,
Nice.
so yeah, the small parts was definitely one of the main issues.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, cool.
But yeah,
And
we also yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the other main reasons why we realized that we wouldn't even try to implement anything in JSON anymore was like we want to keep more of the stats recorded and like store, for example, how many hours you've been biking, how many like everything we wanted stored in a better way. And like doing that with JSON would be like a nightmare. So that's also one of the main incentives why we really had to make a decision to move over to something more production ready, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And now what are you using for like for the front end piece of this? Is this like a Next app or a Remix app or something?
It's actually a straightforward SPA React, regular old school app.
Nice,
but
nice.
we could probably, or obviously, get over to like Remix or Next. But since a lot of the computing is done on the front end or like on the client side, anyways, we haven't really considered doing it or prioritizing it at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously that should be a way to go.
No, that's actually cool. We see like there's a big trend of people moving to like Remix and Next and stuff like that. But I think people are losing out on the value you do get when you simplify that a little bit by just using the front end stack, because it's the tool for the job. Sometimes sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, and obviously we've been like thinking of I don't know, containerizing it or using Electron to just being able to host it or on its own, which is also like a plan down the line, I guess. But yeah, the priority now is just to get more features, keeping it stable and keeping it usable, I guess.
Nice. Now, if somebody in the audience uses one of these tools, how would they get started with Dundring? Is it just a matter of connecting your Bluetooth devices to it?
Yeah, it kind of is. The problem is that I guess cycling, indoor cycling, is kind of a very small niche. Because like you have to, I can demonstrate. I have my bike here, so like you have to have like this part connected to your bike, which might not be the most. Yeah, I don't think everyone has it, so it's
okay.
kind of like it's not very easy to get into. But for example, using it just to keep track of your heart rate was one of the first like tests I did with it, just to like use the proof of concept, like being able to show my heart rate, and for example, someone else joining in as a group session. No idea why there. Okay, so at least being able to just share the data with your friends. It probably has some other use cases, and obviously, if you want to contribute and have like, oh, this could work for this, feel free to shoot me a message. That would be awesome.
In a group session, though, that would like share the like, would both users see the data from the other user's device? Very cool.
It's really cool. So you can like sit and you can use the same workout as your friends. As you can see here, I'm like cycling with it's here, group sessions. Yeah, it's at least you can see there's one more graph here, which is the power of my friend Morten, I guess.
Okay.
Cycling a bit. So yeah, it's like the fun part. We've been having like Zoom calls and Dundring on the side. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's very cool. I really like this. That's an interesting use case for sure, and it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, Stephen, did you have any more questions for him, or?
I'm interested to hear when you use Prisma with the Express REST API. Did Prisma help you at all, like achieve type safety between the front end application and the REST API?
Oh, for real? Yeah. We have like restricted this as like the the routing, and then the workout service, and then the database. And like after getting Prisma, the service part kind of got redundant, I guess, because like Prisma, you can just say, okay, you want this and this and this, and then you like, okay, you don't want to include these fields, okay, just ship it. It's it really helped. You don't have to like manually remove stuff, and it's awesome.
That's really cool.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. I've shared a link to that website there, so Dundring.com. So if anyone is in this niche where they're using these stationary bikes like that, please give it a try. This is very cool. I love seeing use cases like this that are niche, actually, because it's just cool to see it going out there and being used by different people.
Yeah.
And I don't have it now, but actually I do. Cool. I'll also post a link to the GitHub repository in case people are interested in how this is put together. So anybody watching, the links are all up there, so feel free to give those a look. Sivert, that was really awesome. Thanks for walking us through that and sort of showing us your use case.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any last words for the audience, or?
Just thanks for creating Prisma. It's really nice to work with. Looking forward to doing lots of more like small projects or even large projects with it. So yeah.
Nice. Sweet. Well, thanks so much. Hopefully we'll keep in touch. I'll try to hit you up on Slack every now and then. And have a great day and have a great holiday too.
Yeah, thanks, you too.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya. Awesome. Let's see. Cool. Well, so those were both of our guests, and I think what I have left is just a quick couple of plugs. So let me get my screen up, actually. The first thing that I want to mention is that this week we released a new tool that we've been working on called our Playground. So let me actually just get it up before I describe it. So we've been working with a company called DevBook to build this Prisma Playground, and I'll up the size a bit. And what this is it's like an online sort of platform where you can go and play with Prisma and see how it actually works. And just to demonstrate, I'll hop into the Prisma client section here. And the tool that DevBook has made is just beautiful, and it's just super fun to work with, I think. It allows you to go through here and pretty much find any way you can use Prisma client and see an example of it working. And you can actually run the code and you'll get stuff back. So if I ran this, for example, it shows the data you'd get back. And then, of course, you can go through and change it up and run it and see what it looks like. But this is just going to be a really good resource for someone coming into Prisma new and who wants to see what it can do. Also, for somebody who like maybe has been using Prisma, but they're not quite sure how to do a specific thing, odds are the thing you're trying to do is going to be here in this menu. If not, we'd be happy to add it if you wanted to add an issue, but likely it'll be here already because we've covered a lot of the bases.
I really wish that I had this when I was first learning Prisma.
Yeah. I was actually playing with it yesterday, and there were a couple things where I'm like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. And I work here. So it's, so yeah, this is really exciting to me. I've been really looking forward to it. It's been a couple months in the making with the DevBook team. So as I've seen it grow and evolve, the platform that they're building is sort of shaped around our use case. And it worked out really nicely. And you can toggle between your code and the actual schema to see, to get some context into why things are working the way they are. But another cool thing about this is that you can actually play with Prisma Migrate too. We have different like tutorials on different things you might want to do with your Prisma schemas and with your migrations. For example, adding a column to a table. You get this almost like, I'd almost describe it as like a Code Academy style type of thing where you have your instructions, you have some sample code on the side, and it walks you through the changes you need to make in your actual file over here. And then at the end, you can run next, and it'll actually run all these migrations for you. And you can actually see yourself going through all of these, and it's really cool. So if you are just getting into Prisma, or if you haven't used Prisma maybe, and you're trying it out, definitely give the playground a look. I think it's a really good first place to start. I would often recommend people start off in the docs, but honestly, I think if you just want to get a general overview of what Prisma can do, this is a great place to start and just see examples right away. And then I have one more plug, but actually before I do, I'll post this link in the chat too in case anyone wants to check it out. But the last thing I have is there's a new community package out there that's called prisma-import. Let's see here. And what prisma-import does is it allows you to use multiple files to build up your Prisma schema. This is an issue that we've seen a lot of people have problems with in the past. They're working with really large schemas, and their schemas get thousands of lines long. And currently with Prisma itself, like built in, there's no way to split that schema out. So what this person has done, trying to remember his name, yeah, Arnau, what he's done is he's created basically a fork of our Prisma language server and our Prisma VS Code extension that allows you to split your schema into multiple pieces without losing IntelliSense. So you can have multiple schemas in your project, and you don't have to worry about those like polyfills that we talked about earlier in the stream. You get that IntelliSense between the files. And then once you've finished writing your schema in these separate files, it comes with a CLI as well that allows you to sort of stitch those together. I would show a quick demo of it, but I don't have it installed right now. But what you can see here is this is what it would look like if you are using multiple files. You would just import those polyfills that you would have built are actually the models themselves, and you can import them into different files to sort of appease the IntelliSense in the VS Code extension.
Yeah, I really like this import syntax. It's very intuitive, and actually having it integrated into the IDE is just a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, I've tried to build a solution for this personally with my package Aurora. Didn't work out very well. I don't know much about VS Code extensions and how to develop them, and same with language servers. They're complex things. Yeah. So this person took the time to really like dive in and learn how these work. And the solution is great. I like this import syntax because most of our Prisma users are using TypeScript, so they're going to be familiar with this. This is going to look very familiar. So if this is an issue that you've been having, please give this a look. I'm going to post this in the chat as well. I know personally, even before I was working at Prisma, when I was using Prisma in my own projects, this is something that I personally wanted really bad. So it's cool to see a solution finally out there. And I think this solution here is going to probably help shape internally eventually what we do within Prisma as our own product to be able to provide this kind of functionality. But for now, I think this really does cover like the use case that most users are asking for.
I really love seeing community solutions like this that solve real problems, and I think the Prisma team is really excited to be able to explore solutions with the community before adding them as direct features to Prisma itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, am I missing anything, Stephen? I know we had a couple plugs, but I think that was it, right?
I think that was all on the agenda.
Cool. Awesome. Well, in that case, I will get rid of that there. And that brings us to the end of our stream. So I'm going to check the comments real quick for any questions. I see one. Can we make dynamic connections to different DBs in a server using a single instance? I saw this question come in during the prisma-utils sort of section of the stream. I don't know if it was a question specifically for David, but can we make dynamic connections to different DBs in a server using a single instance? So this is possible. It's not, I won't say it's not recommended. So I actually had a use case for this where we had a multi-tenant database. And the way we set up this multi-tenant database was within our database server, we had different databases set up for each tenant that were essentially duplicates of each other. And what we would do is when a request was made to the API, a tenant ID would be in the header, and we would use that tenant ID to go through a middleware within our API that would essentially create a new instance of Prisma client by instantiating it the way you normally would, with the URL specific to that tenant ID. And then we'd store that in memory, just in some array. So in that way, yes, you can hit multiple databases, basically different databases using the same Prisma client, but they will be different instances of the Prisma client. And this will only really work if the different databases have exactly the same shape, if they're basically copies of each other. Aside from that, no, the recommendation is that you would want to have a different Prisma client set up for every different database that you have. And the way you'd do that is you'd provide a custom output for the generated Prisma client and basically store them with your code. Let's see. Dimitri, yeah, I totally agree with this, Dimitri, that this is going to be huge. I think this is honestly one of those game-changing type of things with Prisma. Even though it wasn't something that we ourselves developed, this is one of those things that is going to help so many people. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
But I think that's all the questions we have. So unless you had anything else, Stephen, I think we can sign out and say goodbye until next time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, lots of fun. And I hope everybody watching has a good holiday. And yeah, we'll see you in the next year. That sounds so weird.
Yeah, I know.
See you next year.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.